Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon for our very good audience from France. This morning or this afternoon, we're going to be presenting some information about Ohio. This is an e-meeting between France and Ohio, and we're going to focus during the next 2 days on aerospace, healthcare, advanced manufacturing to help French entrepreneurs to come to Ohio and explore the wonderful market of the United States. This first panel, we have a large team of Jobsohio that sponsor the event, and we're very grateful of their participation today. They are the expert of the state. We have Alina that's going to start, and then Mindy, Cierra, and Justin will present each their sector in the state. And we have the great opportunity to have Carole from the Occitanie region. So thank you, Carole. That will take your questions at the end of a presentation. So as a reminder, this session is recorded. Number two, we ask the audience to put their questions in the chat, and we will read them at the end and answer them at the end of the presentation with the help of Carole. So without further ado, Alina, if you want to go ahead and start your presentation, that would be wonderful. Thank you. I think you have a video that you want to share with us.
Yes, I've had the issues unmuting myself. I apologize.
No worry, videos are always a little bit of a challenge. Here we go. We have your presentation that is coming up.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Alina Harastasanu, and I work with Jobsohio, the state-level economic development organization of the state of Ohio. My job is to work with European companies interested in expanding to the US and basically provide them all the assistance necessary to inform such a step. I would like, first of all, to thank the French Chamber of Commerce in Ohio, Cédric and Alexandrine, as well as the speakers that answered our call to talk about the wonderful things happening in Ohio in advanced manufacturing, especially aerospace, and of course, healthcare. And I will take just a couple of minutes of your time to share some more information on who we are as an organization, introduce our regional network partners, and tell a bit, I guess, about how companies can interact with us to access our services, financial incentives, and ultimately how and why Ohio makes sense from a business standpoint. As I mentioned before, we are the investment attraction organization of the state, and we have been mandated to drive job creation and new capital investment. We promote some 9 sectors, as you can see them on this slide, ranging from advanced manufacturing to logistics and distribution. We are very, very lucky to count on the support of the Ohio Governor, Mike DeWine, who actually wanted to address you and say some words on the healthcare front. As you can imagine, he's quite busy these days fighting the pandemic. So he actually sent us a recorded message. So ladies and gentlemen, Ohio Governor Mike DeWine.
Hello, I'm Ohio Governor Mike DeWine. Ohio is a hub of healthcare innovation that's responsible for life-changing discoveries. And it's a growing field here full of great opportunity. We are proud that Ohio is home to 14 nationally ranked hospitals. Cleveland Clinic is ranked as the 2nd best hospital in the nation. Cincinnati Children's and Nationwide Children's are both ranked in the top 8 best pediatric hospitals. This past year, we announced 3 innovation districts: Cincinnati, Cleveland, and Columbus. These districts will build on our strengths, bringing together our talents and our assets to become a global medical epicenter. We know the innovation districts will attract the best researchers and support their work in coming up with breakthrough solutions. Advancing those ideas into the commercial market will help improve the lives of patients. We want those researchers to create, develop, and share their ideas with the world from right here in Ohio. In addition, these innovation districts, through their university partnerships, will bolster the state's STEM talent pipeline. We are very focused on developing and graduating the workforce needed for the future in areas such as science, technology, and engineering. We know how important this element is to the success of our vision for healthcare in Ohio. As you look for new investment opportunities in the healthcare field, we hope you like what you see today. I, along with my friends at Jobsohio, look forward to the opportunity to partner with you.
Okay. I know that was a lot of concepts introduced and dropped, but you will hear in detail about all of these from our speakers today. So going back to our nine sectors, they may seem a lot, but you have to understand that the state is very large. We have a population of 12 million people. To give you, I guess, a term of reference, it has the same population of the Île-de-France region, but in terms of surface, the area is equal to that of Île-de-France, Normandy, Centre-Val de Loire, and the Pays de la Loire all combined. In order to manage such a territory, we work closely with 6 regional organizations that are our eyes and ears on the territory and very close to our investors, whether they are domestic or international. Now, not all 9 sectors are equally strong across the 6 regions, and you will hear from the representatives of TeamNEO, the one in yellow, Dayton Development Coalition, the one in dark blue, and REDI Cincinnati in gray, on how and why the regions have attracted certain industries and a particular type of investment, including the French one. These couple of days, you will also hear a lot of mentions on the extraordinary logistics value proposition that our state has. So I will not insist on this slide, except to mention that Ohio is not a landlocked state, as you may assume from the map. And because of the Great Lakes systems, it takes advantage of a direct shipping route with Antwerp. My colleague Mindy will probably mention that as well. Also, 1/3 of the border is the Ohio River, which is the 3rd largest navigable river in the US and the tributary to the Mississippi, which allows Ohio companies to ship directly to the Gulf of Mexico. And lastly, to the extent that you are interested in Canada and Mexico as well, Ohio has 10 free trade zones, I apologize, more than any other state in the regions. We've seen that basically there are 3 more factors that rank very high on investors' wish list, I guess, when selecting a location. One is low operating costs, whether that means low wages, low taxes, low cost of real estate, and Ohio fortunately ticks all of those. The second is industry concentration. And from this perspective, Ohio is home to 27 Fortune 500 headquarters, which makes the state number 5 in the US after states like New York, California, Texas, and Illinois. And even there in Illinois, it's basically just the city of Chicago. So basically, we are an anomaly, if you will, in the Midwest. Names that you might recognize that have headquarters here are Parker, Goodyear, Dana, AK Steel. The third factor, I guess, is talent. And we're not talking just availability of talent, but also quality, which are not always the same. And this is where, tradition in advanced manufacturing and in healthcare play quite an important role. Of course, you also want to be able to like where you live and afford living there. The lower cost of living makes several of Ohio City magnets for millennials. And I always love to show this slide. I took the liberty of comparing what some money would get you in terms of real estate in Central Ohio versus New York and San Francisco. I don't know you, but it makes me quite sad to just look at those tiny apartments on the coast. So now let's just talk a little bit about how Jobsohio can assist companies that are considering the state. All the services that we provide are free of charge and include basic research and benchmarking against other states in terms of doing business, things like taxation, availability and of labor force and wages, cost of real estate, assistance with permitting and introduction to service providers, your lawyers, your accountants, your developers, site selection services, and Jobsohio has now some 3,500 properties in our database between office space, manufacturing, warehousing facilities, and actual sites. The financial incentives, I know that they are probably the thing that interests the companies the most. They're not meant to be the only source of financing, but more of a nudge, the cherry on the top of the cake, if you will. Think of them as being divided in 3 buckets: grants, loans, and state and tax credits. The grants can cover pretty much anything from costs of retrofitting a building to transferring machinery from Europe to training of personnel, whether in Europe or abroad. Lastly, in the past couple of years, we have developed talent services. They are meant to help international companies, especially the ones that are first time on the US market, to build an employer branding, if you will, attract and source talent, and potentially create long-term sustainable talent stream. Jobsohio has worked with many international companies, and we've assisted them to either enter the US market or expand their presence in the US through Ohio with headquarters or manufacturing facilities or warehouses, customer service offices, back offices, an R&D footprint, you name it. And the international FDI is spread relatively evenly across the 9 sectors, and I'm sure that you recognize some of the names on this table. France ranks relatively high as a source of FDI in Ohio from Europe. It comes 3rd after Germany and UK, which, as you can imagine, have, I guess, the biggest bulk of the European investment. Most of it is automotive and advanced manufacturing. The manner in which these companies have entered the market differ. Some came in through greenfield, some through M&A, some through partnerships, but ultimately they've all created jobs in the state. You will hear these days from some of the French companies on this list. What they all have in common is that first, they benefited if not all of the 4 key advantages that I've mentioned: logistics, low cost of operation, being a business hub, and availability and quality of talent. Several, if not of all 4, they definitely benefited of several. Second, they were all able to count, I guess, on the support of the local, regional, and state level stakeholders, and they can testify that Ohio is open for business and it has reduced bureaucracy to make the investor job as easy as possible. And lastly, please remember that both myself and my colleagues, Glenn Richardson and Tyler Alchin, whom you're going to hear from today, are at your disposal and just an email away. And that is all from me. Thank you very much. Cédric, back to you.
Thank you so much, Alina. That was a very, very good presentation that gave us a good scope on the state and the capability. I just, as we get more people coming in, I just want to welcome everybody to that webinar about France and Ohio and an opportunity to develop their business in the state. Just as a reminder, please put your question in the chat. We have Carole that's going to help us address those questions at the end of the presentation. But as you listen, interesting information about the state, about our different guest speaker today, please feel free to enter any question as they come, and we will answer them at the end. So thanks again for everybody to joining in. And next is Mindy. You're welcome to share. Everything is working. Wonderful. And unmute. And I may need to give you a hand for that.
Merci beaucoup. Merci beaucoup. Bonjour, je m'appelle Mindy McLaughlin. J'habite en Cleveland, Ohio. I'll switch to English now. My French is no longer what it was, but I wanted to tell you a little bit about my section of the state. Okay, as you saw on the first set of slides, this is where we are located in the United States, in the Eastern time zone, the same time zone as New York and Toronto, Canada. More specifically, over here on the left, you'll see that I represent what we call the northeast portion of Ohio, where our biggest city is Cleveland, and we share a water border with Canada. Just a little bit about our size. We represent about 1/3 of Ohio's population, with about a little over 4 million people, and 40% of the state's economy by gross state product. 2 million people in our workforce. We have a whole lot of companies, particularly manufacturing companies, and a little over, actually at this point, a little over 800 international companies, represent the 15th largest economic region in the United States, and a complement of highly accredited universities. In terms of the current French investment, we've listed here a selection of our top investors. The biggest companies we have represented are Saint-Gobain and FIV, who have multiple locations, but of course, we have lots of other companies from Capgemini, Schneider Electric, L'Oréal, Daquette, Vairec, et cetera, that sort of round out the complement. And they're actually a pretty diversified set of industries. So not one particular industry dominates, it's all across our industries. And in terms of industries, you heard from my colleague Alina that Ohio as a state focuses on 9 industries. And we here in the Cleveland area focus on about 5 of those 9. Biohealth, which you're going to hear about in the next presentation, is one of our strongest. We also are extremely strong in chemicals. That's why Saint-Gobain has a large operation here. Metals, we're very strong steel and metals industry, professional services and headquarters, so lots of banking and insurance, and automotive, which also includes aerospace. So these are our competencies as a region. And this picture over here is actually of the Cleveland Clinic's main campus. In terms of healthcare and biomedical, our big story for you is that the Cleveland Clinic, as you heard in the governor's message, is located here. It's our top hospital, but we also have 4 other hospital systems, University, Metro Health, Veterans Affairs, and Altman, which represent opportunities for companies who are looking to find a footprint in the US with their device or their pharma or their IT product. And over here on the right, you'll see how we've sort of segmented our sort of top companies. Our competencies within healthcare are in medical devices, pharmaceuticals, the IT piece, and also services. On aerospace, this is also an equally interesting sector for us. That's because Ohio has a big aerospace industry, but here in Northeast Ohio, we have the state's only 2 NASA facilities who are doing research and propulsion technology, specifically in a place called NASA Glenn Research Lab and NASA Plumbrook. Our biggest French company in aerospace is Cierra, but we also have representations from ABB, Parker Hannifin, Lockheed, Honeywell, etc. And Ohio is the #1 state in the US as a supplier to Airbus and Boeing. Something unique also about the Cleveland area is that we have 2 what we call American style industry clusters. So American style in the sense that they are free, they are not compulsory, and they are led by business. So this is not something that the government's, local government or state government has a hand in, but they are around smart manufacturing. So connected devices, automation, sensors, very important to technology moving forward in manufacturing, whether healthcare or aerospace, as well as additive manufacturing or 3D printing. So we have seen that these are 2 strategies, 2 pieces of technology that are helping companies move forward. And particularly, I think 3D printing is very important for medical devices, particularly implantables. So we have a competency in that, as well as for aerospace in terms of tooling. Alina had also mentioned that we have ports. So my portion of Ohio, Cleveland, is the only part of Ohio that actually has a deep sea container port. It's called the Port of Cleveland. And this map here shows you the route it takes through Canada to get to Port of Antwerp. That's a scheduled service, but of course, if you were looking to bring in product either from Europe to North America or North America to Europe, you can find your own shipping company. On average, it takes about 13 days across the ocean. And we do not have congestion at the Port of Cleveland. So unlike perhaps if you are shipping product to the United States, you might have your shipments at the Port of Baltimore, Port of New York, Port Charleston. Often there's backlogs there, but not so in the Port of Cleveland. So we represent actually a much more efficient route. You'll hear this from a lot of my colleagues, but we are very proud in Ohio of our higher education and technical training programs. Our workforce does need to be educated in order to be performing these high value products that we produce. And so in my part of Ohio, certainly we have high ranking universities. So for engineering, Case Western University has a very esteemed biomedical engineering program. University of Akron, Youngstown, and others represent certainly a place to find talent. I will end here with my contact information. You can reach me my phone or my email or through Cédric. And merci beaucoup.
Okay, thank you so much, Mindy. It was very informative. My sound cut off just a minute, so I apologize for the video delay. Again, a little reminder for audience as they coming in. Welcome everybody. We are taking questions in the chat, so please make sure to put them as you go along. You will find in the chat as well some link to our guest speaker today so you can get more information as well. So next on the schedule, we have Cierra. So Cierra, I'll let you get organized with your slide, and I'm going to make sure that you have the ability to talk. So I'm going to unmute.
Okay.
And it should be good to go.
Awesome. And can everyone see my screen?
I believe so. We're good to go. Thank you, Cierra.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much again for taking the time to hear from the Ohio team and learning more about the state and the industry specifically of aerospace and biohealth healthcare. So quickly, my name is Cierra Clymer. I am the Director of International Business Development for REDI Cincinnati. And like my colleagues, I'm just going to walk through some of the highlights of the region and then happy to answer questions at the end. So REDI Cincinnati is the regional economic development initiative for the greater Cincinnati metropolitan area. As you heard from Alina and Mindy, our primary roles are really to drive economic growth to our respective regions and territories through new job creation and capital investment, and that we do that through business attraction, retention, and expansion efforts. I'll just highlight again, REDI Cincinnati is the Southwest Ohio partner of Jobsohio. So we work closely with Jobsohio on projects and opportunities that are looking at the 5 counties in Southwest Ohio. Unlike my counterparts across the state, though, REDI Cincinnati also represents a tri-state metro. And this is really based on the region's metropolitan statistical area. And so when companies are considering the Cincinnati region and really taking into account, what their talent supply is going to be, what the industry is, what the infrastructure and supply chain looks like, it's important to note that when you look at the Cincinnati region, while we only have 5 counties in Southwest Ohio, we have 7 in Northern Kentucky and 3 in Southeastern Indiana as well. Throughout that region, you'll find that we have a population of about 2.2 million, a workforce of 1.2 million, and over 450 foreign-owned firms, with more than half of those being European-based companies. Outside of the pure statistics, wanted to highlight some of the accolades that the Cincinnati region has received in recent years. This is one of our more fun slides because it kind of covers a variety of things. But Cincinnati region has been recognized nationally for a variety of different things, including lowest cost of living for major metropolitan areas, highlighting our international airport, Cincinnati Northern Kentucky International Airport, which is right across the river, as one of the top 3 in the country, as well as being a place for college graduates after they receive their education. As I mentioned, our job is to drive economic growth through attraction and expansion efforts. And just like my colleagues had mentioned, one of the ways we do that is by targeting specific industry sectors. The 4 industry sectors that the Cincinnati region specifically targets are really based in not only the strength of the industry that exists today in the Cincinnati region, but also the potential growth that we see and really the assets that we can offer within the region that can help fuel that success and growth. The 4 primary industry sectors that we cover are advanced manufacturing, biohealth, business and professional services, and technology. Within each of those sectors, we also have identified subsectors that we feel we have a slight competitive advantage on that we spend our efforts focusing on. Within advanced manufacturing, one of those industries is aerospace. And then when you look at the biohealth industry, really we find that biomedical research, health technology, and medical device manufacturing are where our sweet spot is. Unlike, I think, what you'll find across the country, as you heard earlier, the state of Ohio is fortunate to have a diversity of industry, and that continues to translate throughout all of the regions as well. When you look at the Cincinnati region specifically, this is a breakdown of kind of which industries make up our core economy. And as you'll see that there really isn't a single industry sector that overpowers one or the other. And this has really allowed us not only to have a diversity within the ecosystem, but also just provide stability during times of economic downturn, as well as allowing companies to diversify internally and be able to seek those customers in that supply chain necessary for that growth. So looking specifically as we dive into the two industry sectors that are going to be represented over the next couple of days, I wanted to touch on aerospace as well as biohealth. Starting with aerospace, you already heard, Ohio is the birthplace of aviation. We are, the state is the #1 supplier to Airbus and Boeing. And that has, Cincinnati region has been able to be a part of that industry and really help fuel that. And what you'll find is within Southwest Ohio and through Northern Kentucky, 77% of the aerospace supply chain is located in our region, which really allows companies to have a strong network of partners for long-term success. Looking at the peer statistics, we've continued to see job growth within the aerospace industry. And even more importantly, that I think helps fuels that supply chain is that the Cincinnati region is 18 times more concentrated in aircraft engine and engine parts manufacturing than our counterparts across the country. And that is really due to GE Aviation. As you may be familiar, GE Aviation is an industry leader, and they are actually headquartered within the Cincinnati region, sitting right in kind of the industry corridor of Interstate 75. And having GE Aviation has allowed our region to attract numerous tier 1 and tier 2 suppliers within the aerospace industry. Some of those companies here's just a handful of those company callouts. One of them that I will note is Dayton Aerospace that you may have seen in Alina's presentation as well. That is a French company that had a recent expansion just a couple of years ago. It was a smaller expansion operation. It was only 40 new jobs, but it was a perfect example of having that supply chain and the infrastructure due to GE Aviation and other major players within the aerospace industry and needing to locate in a space where not only will they be able to have access to their customers and supply chain, but be able to meet their needs with the talent and infrastructure necessary. Knowing that aerospace is such a big piece of our economy and the future growth that we anticipate, the Cincinnati region continues to invest in infrastructure and assets that will help fuel that. One of those examples is the AeroHub Innovation District. AeroHub is a planned innovation campus that is specifically focused on advanced manufacturing as well as aerospace. And it is located right in the middle of that Interstate 75, right across the street from GE Aviation, and really allows companies to connect both to the northern corridor that you'll hear from shortly from Justin within the Dayton region, all the way to the Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky airport, where there is a significant logistics and supply chain hub. Moving on to biohealth, this is one of our growing industries and one that I think is continuing to develop over recent years. And we really find that, as I mentioned earlier, we're uniquely positioned to support the biomedical research, the health technology, and medical device manufacturing within the region. And what we found is within the biohealth industry, so much of it is has come from not only significant institutions that are nationally known, like Cincinnati Children's and Ethicon, which is a Johnson & Johnson company, but also from our vibrant entrepreneurial community that has really allowed the innovation and future companies grow into the space. Again, looking at just pure statistics within the biohealth industry in the Cincinnati region, you'll find that we are continuing to see job growth as well as projecting pretty significant industry growth over the next 5 years. On top of that, you heard about talent both from Alina and Mindy, and that is a huge piece of the ability to continue to attract and expand biohealth companies. Just within the Cincinnati region, we found we have 6,000 STEM graduates annually and more than 60,000 STEM workers already in the industry. Just a few of those companies that are located in here. As I mentioned, we have significant biohealth institutions like Cincinnati Children's, Ethicon, AstraZeneca, but then we also have seen that growth coming from earlier stage companies and newer companies that are really disrupting and innovating in the industry. And a perfect example of those are companies like Geneticist and Gravity Diagnostics. One of the companies that we did want to highlight was AstraZeneca. This is a company that has produced a line in anti-diabetic medicine and just recently expanded into their existing facility, invested $65 million in capital investment to continue their growth and really double down on their investment within the Cincinnati region. I've referenced Cincinnati Children's a couple of times, and you've heard it throughout the morning or afternoon for you all. But it is a core piece of the biohealth ecosystem within the Cincinnati region. And on top of that, it is strategically located within our medical campuses that also University of Cincinnati helps fuel. University of Cincinnati is a Tier 1 research institution located within the Cincinnati region. It's one of our largest universities within the tri-state metro. And it is continues to be ranked nationally in the top 3 for various things. But on top of that, I think Alina had mentioned it earlier, the innovation district that is going to be growing in partnership with Cincinnati Children's and University of Cincinnati. Understanding the significance both of those players have within the biohealth ecosystem, as well as within the technology and just innovation space in general. Jobsohio invested $100 million in the creation and development of the Cincinnati Innovation District. Not only will this help fuel further growth within STEM talent within the Cincinnati region, as well as turn out research and development coming from Cincinnati Children's, but it also creates a home for future companies that are looking to locate within the Cincinnati region and play a role within the technology biohealth ecosystems. So the point of I just wanted to highlight kind of how REDI Cincinnati can help in addition to our partners at Jobsohio and across the state. Really, REDI Cincinnati is meant to be just that regional arm and being able to drill down on specifics in the Cincinnati metro. And so our purpose is really to serve as that front door. Typically, we say we may not have all of the answers, but we will help you get those answers and get connected to the partners that do. And ideally, that will help make your process easier of expanding into the United States and really giving you trusted partners and subject matter experts to help guide those efforts. So I'll close out with my contact information. I think these slides will be made available to participants as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Cierra. Very, very much appreciated. Perfect. So we have people coming in slowly into our event. So much appreciated all participants. And as a reminder, and we transition to our next speaker, Justin, feel free to put any question in the chat. We will gonna, after Justin is done with his presentation, we will move to question with Carole and get her feedback on what she heard as economic development from Occitanie, French region. So without further ado, Justin, I'm gonna see you have your presentation ready. Thank you, and you should be unmute right now.
Can you hear me okay?
Perfect.
All right. Well, again, my name is Justin Farmer. I'm the Director of Business Development for the Dayton Development Coalition. And just want to thank Jobsohio as well as the French American Chamber for allowing me to participate today. There we go. Sorry about that. So the Dayton Development Coalition, we represent the Dayton region within Ohio. That is the middle western portion of the state. And really, we are here to connect businesses to the resources they need to innovate and grow. And we help startup companies, we help the existing companies that are within our region to expand. And the way we do that is through collaboration. And we consider ourselves a connector of dots. So as Cierra was mentioning earlier, we may not have the correct answer, but we will find the answer through many partnerships that we have throughout the state. We've been doing regional economic development since 1994. And when Jobsohio was created in the 2011-2012 timeframe, we became one of the 6 regional network partners. And again, our mission is to recruit, expand, and retain jobs in the Dayton region. This picture here is from our 2019 annual meeting, and it represents over 600 participants that were in attendance from community partners, investors, state level representatives that all believe in our mission. So how do we do regional economic development? The Dayton Development Coalition has basically 4 teams. I sit on the Jobsohio team. With that, we cover a 12-county footprint, and we are responsible for the attraction and retaining of companies within our region and through the industry sectors. We also have a small $9.1 million venture capital fund that we use to support Dayton-based startup companies. And what's great about that program is not only are we seeing really good investments from that program, a lot of which are in the biomedical space, but a lot of those companies are seeing additional sidecar investment. Another one of our teams is on the advocacy side of things. So we have a person that works with our local and state elected officials. And we also have somebody full-time in Washington, D.C. that is working from a federal perspective, primarily working on initiatives related to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. And then the last team that we have is our Aerospace and Defense team, working primarily with Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. And their mission is to make sure that that base is the receiving of missions and not detracting of any missions. I'd like to talk a little bit about the aerospace and defense sector. I'm sure many of you are aware of the Wright brothers. Dayton is the birthplace of aviation. It is home to the Wright brothers. That's where the name of Wright-Patterson Air Force Base came from. And I really like this quote from retired Air Force Chief of Staff, General Mark Welsh. Air power, its DNA comes from Dayton. And really what we try to do is make sure that those that we're working with understand and know the strength that we have within the aerospace sector, supporting talent needs of that sector, and really making sure that Wright-Patterson Air Force Base is supported. This slide here shows on the left-hand side the entity at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, and on the right-hand side, the equivalent organization. So you can see, as an example, Air Force Material Command is the equivalent to a Fortune 50 company. The Air Force Research Lab is the equivalent of 5 university research institutes. So you have quite a lot of intellectual capital here within the region. And I do want to also mention that Wright-Patterson Air Force Base is the largest single site employer with over 31,000 direct employees and constitutes a $15.5 billion economic impact. It is also the largest Air Force base in the United States. So aerospace and defense. We have some very strong assets within the unmanned air vehicle. One of our locations in our region, the Springfield Air National Guard Base, has a beyond visual line of sight testing facility where, in partnership with AFRL, the Air Force Research Laboratory, and the Ohio Department of Transportation, companies can fly aircraft within commercial airspace, but with beyond visual line of sight. So it's a great opportunity to partner with other organizations and to do testing of those types of vehicles. And a new initiative that we started last year, it's actually an Air Force and NASA initiative called Agility Prime, and it is for advanced air mobility to help support companies to commercialize basically flying cars. We, again, at the Springfield Air National Guard Base, have seen quite a bit of activity. We've had 3 companies installed charging stations at that location and simulators, and are starting to test at that facility. Moving on to healthcare. Again, in kind of response to the COVID-19 pandemic, a lot of our organizations here in the region were trying to support and help. Air Force Research Laboratory was one of them, started developing technologies to sanitize airplane interiors, new testing methods to help diagnose patients. And we also have a French company, Novacell, which is part of the Chargers Group, at the end of last year, announced plans to expand an existing facility here in the Dayton region to help support production of N95 masks. And it's a great project. They expect to produce 2.5 million masks per month and create 53 new jobs. A couple other examples of companies that really came to the calling to help with the pandemic. Tempogenics scaled up their production for adhesive-based thermometers that can be basically put on someone's forehead to detect their temperature. Another company, Aerobiotics, deployed their advanced air filter technology to help clean air in medical facilities, as well as many of our university and school partners. And then we also have a company called PNC Pharma that worked with the Ohio Hospital and Medical Professional Network to create liquid formulas of critical medications. A little bit more about healthcare that I wanted to mention. We have a trade association here in the Dayton region. It's called the Dayton Region Hospital Trade Association, GADAHA for short. It includes 29 member hospitals and health organizations and serves as the collection point for hospital data, which is used for the analysis of trends and healthcare services. They work very closely with another organization called Ascend Innovations, and this organization is really used to help commercialize life science products. They are also working on AI and machine learning to basically take that data from the hospital network to be informed and create solutions. And then lastly, another organization, 115, which is a nonprofit recovery ecosystem that is using evidence-based care with outpatient and inpatient treatment to help overcome the nation's opioid epidemic. Moving on to advanced manufacturing. So we have a company here in the region that actually has 2 locations. It's called Silfex, and it's a division of Lam Research. And basically what they do is they create silicon-based tooling that goes into the machines that manufacture semiconductor chips. So within the Dayton region, again, they have 2 facilities that total more than 500,000 square feet and have more than 800 employees. So very big operation in 2 different locations within the Dayton region. Another more recent project is Pella. You may be familiar with them as they make a lot of window and door systems for the residential market. Just last year, they announced plans to create a new manufacturing facility for their vinyl window product. And the company acquired a 300,000 square foot facility and plans to create 400 jobs. One other company I want to mention is PVS Plastics. They're actually a German-based company, but they specialize in plastic and metal hybrid components through injection molding. And the company owns 60,000 square feet with over 70 employees. And this is my last slide. And again, going back to what I mentioned earlier, we are a connector of dots, and we will help you find the answer to any questions that you have. And this slide here just represents different areas that we can help, whether it's connecting to university research, if there's any interest in connecting to some of our startup companies, Air Force R&D, we can make those connections for you. So again, thank you for the time today. I very much appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Justin. So now we're gonna switch to our next part, I would call it, of our presentation, which is gonna be question and answer. I'm gonna simply, now that you saw the presentation, I'm gonna stop the recording of those presentations. We're still online, there's no